Chapter 1. He's smart, but his birds are sloppy.
Japan picks an astronaut. This chapter is about how Japan chooses their astronauts by having them do origami. Them being able to learn and complete these intricate birds shows determination, patience, and dexterity. This also shows how difficult it will be to do simple tasks with a spacesuit on. You good, Peter?
Looks like I'm not going to be an astronaut.
Of course not. Do you have any idea how hard it is to maneuver a screwdriver when you got those gloves on? Damn near impossible.
Chapter 2. Life in a box.
Careless psychology of isolation and confinement. Isolation studies and how being cooped up together affects relationships. It's very difficult when you're cooped up together with multiple astronauts. The language barrier and the underdeveloped mind of society still think women were inferior.
I couldn't imagine living in a box that long.
Me either.
It'd be crazy. I'd have to deal with Peter for like 3 months. I couldn't do it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I got you.
Chapter 3. Star Crazy.
Did space blow your mind? Roach interviews the Russian cosmonauts and talks to them about how it was living with each other. Of course there were disagreements, which one of them mentioned. An interesting fact that I learned from this chapter was suicide pills. Suicide pills were used, or supposedly used, if an astronaut drifted away from the space station while outside doing maintenance. Imagine having to do that, Peter. I couldn't do it. That's some tough stuff up there. Even though suicide pills were a false statement, they were never used, says one of the cosmonauts from Russia.
Chapter 4. You go first.
No, you go first.
Bro, Chapter 4. You go first.
No. The alarming prospect of life without gravity. Sending monkeys into space. Also, what people first thought about the medical effects of space travel. They were always thinking that they were going to crash into Earth every time they looked out the window of a spacecraft.
Vastness of space can have a very large psychological effect on the human mind. For example, when it may look like you're tunneling towards space, but in reality you may not even be moving at all. Did I say towards space? I should have said towards Earth.
Chapter 5. Wait, what's the name of it?
Unstowed.
Chapter 5. Unstowed.
Escaping gravity on board NASA's C-9. The author boards an airplane, also nicknamed the Vomit Comet, to try out zero gravity. NASA uses these planes that fly in a parabolic shape, a U-shape for non-mathematicians. It's the cheapest way that NASA can test items in zero gravity, such as pens. Fun fact! Pens don't work in space!
Pens don't work in space.
Chapter 6. Throwing up and down.
The astronaut's secret misery. This chapter looks to figure out the best way to prevent motion sickness and getting astronauts to prepare for the trip up to space. A quote from the chapter saying, "With space motion sickness, the impulse to vomit can hit with unusual suddenness." End quote. This led to the idea of where to send vomit if an astronaut were to throw up in the space helmet. The chapter talks on how vomiting in the space helmet would cause it to sit in front of your face and would then lead you to inhale it, which is dangerous.
Transitioning from Chapter 6, it's time for Chapter 7, the cadaver in the space capsule.
NASA visits the crash test lab. Using a nice donated body to take flight in space. Ouch. A look at what gravity does to a body at high types of pressurized gravity. Also, a deeper look into what happened with monkeys in space. Are humans even worth it if you have animals to do it for you? I mean, of course humans are worth it. We can send a sheep, expect them to turn knobs to hooves.
They're not going to know what to do.
No, a sheep's brain is like the size of like John's.
Sheep, man.
One furry step from mankind.
The strange career of Ham and Enos. More monkeys in space! Died, though.
Chapter 9, next gas, 200,000 miles.
200,000 miles!
200,000! Planning a moon expedition is tough, but not as tough as planning a simulated one. How we've evolved from having astronauts driving around the moon in an electric buggy to NASA's new rover prototypes that resemble a futuristic camper van. This includes testing these prototypes on earthly terrain that resembles the moon's surface. Basically, they're saying all this stuff is faked.
You know what they say. Oh, Chapter 10, Houston, we have a fungus. Space hygiene and the men who stop bathing for science. I would never stop bathing for science.
No,
I wouldn't
it's
stop
disgusting.
bathing. I wouldn't stop bathing for Jesus Christ himself, to be honest. I actually probably would. There are not any showers in space, obviously. So that means over time, the space capsules become pretty rank. The clothes you wear under your spacesuit start to deteriorate. This thing creates fungus that starts to grow in your body. Like in all parts.
All parts.
So like my Chapter 11, the horizontal stuff.
What if you never got out of bed? What happens to your body when you don't get out of bed? Seriously, they'll pay you to be a part of the study, and you cannot get up. Not even to pee. Look at the deterioration of your bones and such. A connection to gravity? How can lying in bed have connection to gravity?
That's a good question.
I know. I don't even think NASA knows.
Probably not.
No.
I wish I could stay in bed all day.
So do I. Not have to go to Simpsons class.
Or school in general.
At my Cali.
Chapter 12, The Three Dolphin Club. Mating without gravity. Space sex, Pete. We're getting into it. The nitty gritty. Gravity and sex. And the big mystery. Has anyone ever done it in space? They pretty much told astronauts to control themselves.
No boners.
It would be extremely difficult. Also, some guy rented out a no-gravity plane to shoot a porno, but never actually shot it in no gravity. Imagine how much it is to rent one of those and to not get to shoot your porno.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's at least $6.
Chapter 13, Withering Heights.
Bailing out from space. What happens to the body if you jump out of the capsule at re-entry? Scary thought. The pressure of gravity and the ability to walk. Everything we take granted for.
We take for granted.
Everything we take for granted. How does it feel to a body that just got out of no gravity for a couple months or even years?
Have you ever, like, run on a treadmill and then got off the treadmill?
Yeah.
Probably feels like that.
Yeah, probably.
Chapter 14, Separation
Whoa, whoa,
Anxiety.
whoa.
The continuing saga of zero-gravity elimination. Peeing and pooping in space. Everybody's got to pee and poop.
Sick.
You got it.
Yeah. Astronaut toilets are very scary things. Toilets were so small that they actually had to be trained on the whole aiming part of using the bathroom. Yeah, my mom still yells at me for missing it. Also, since food would weigh so much, people actually thought astronauts should eat their own, poop.
Chapter 15, Discomfort Food.
I'm uncomfortable.
When veterinarians make dinner, and the other tales of woe from aerospace test kitchens. The disgusting stuff they feed astronauts?
Probably not as good as his pizza.
Definitely not. Meatloaf freeze food does not taste like meatloaf?
Of course, meatloaf sucks either way.
True. Which relates to the previous chapter, as some astronauts have been known to eat minimally to avoid the whole hassle of chapter 14.
Were you basically starving yourself for 3 months in space?
I guess so.
I know I couldn't do it.
Did you order that space food yet?
Chapter 15, Eating Your Pants.
Is Mars worth it? Drinking your own urine because recycle. And they have no place to put the urine without it floating away without proper disposal. Also, the logistics of traveling to Mars, it will happen, but not without the inspiration.
Let's go.
And I quote, yes, the money could be better spent on Earth, but would it? Since when has the money saved by the government redlining been spent on education and cancer research? It is always squandered. Let's squander some on Mars. Let's go out and play.